Hello and welcome to another Capture the Flag edition of Daryl Show Your Work, episode 108 to be exact. All right, so as promised in my previous video, I'm going to be diving in a bit deeper into post exploitation and specifically focusing on Windows post exploitation module. So, in my previous video, I touched on Meterpreter and how some ways that it could best be used to conduct post exploitation activities, meaning that once we have compromised our target host and once we're inside of their local system or network, some things we could do beyond that. All right. So Meterpreter is the ideal tool for that. But I'm going to narrow that focus a little bit more in this video and deal specifically with Windows-based exploitation tools. All right. So, before I go any further, I want to give my usual preface since we are talking about compromising a host, and to say that this is for educational, research, and ethical purposes only. Any sort of malicious activity that may or may not come from someone watching my video, I do not take responsibility for, nor do I condone. All right, so as we can see here, I've got us part of the way through the process already. All right, so I've done the whole Rigetto HTTP file server exploit here to get us a interpreter session. So I'm going to move. I'm already into the post exploitation phase now, since I've already exploited our target host, and I can show you what that IP address is here. All right, it's 10.3.24.125. So that's our target host. All right, then let me just slide this little bubble over here so it's not in the way. All right. Okay, so that's our target host. All right, so I'm gonna move forward here and I'm gonna do some enumeration. All right. So let's see what our session, what type of session of interpreter that I'm running. All right, so it looks like I'm running a 32-bit session on a 64-bit version of Windows Server 2012 revision 2. All right, and let's see who I'm logged in as and how high my privileges are. So I'm say get UID, and it's good that I have administrative privileges. All right, so one thing we can do if we want to again, I believe I mentioned this in my previous video, but if we wanted to see some different switches or options that we could use with interpreter, we could just write help. All right, and it'll and Metasploit will return back with different types of options we can use here once we have once we're in our target host and we've exploited it. All right, so a really cool thing I wanted to show you is one of the options we could use. All right, I'm going to actually get a screenshot. All right, of our target host's desktop. All right, so in order for me to do that, I'm gonna just say screenshot, and what it's going to do is going to take a screenshot of the target host and save it into my local directory here. All right, so I'm going to say screenshot. All right, so it's telling me that it actually has saved that image into my root directory. So I'm going to go into here to my file explorer. All right, and I'm going to go to view, and I'm going to click on show hidden files. All right, I'm looking for a folder called .msf4. All right, and I'm gonna look inside of my this loot folder. All right, this is where it should be stored. Let's see, it's not there. Let me see. I may have the wrong. Um, let me see. Actually, let me go back. No, it actually just might be. Let's scroll down a little bit. Let's see, it's called G. There we go. Okay, I didn't have to go that far. So I was thinking about something else that's stored in that. May have put the cart before the horse there. I believe we will be visiting that folder later on in the video. All right, but just wanted to show the screenshot. So here's the screenshot that I took. All right, so that's how we could use Meterpreter to take a screenshot of our of our target hosts. All right. So again, this is for ethical purposes. So it is all type of evil things that can be done using that. But if we're doing an ethical pen test here, this is just something we could do to prove that we were able to get into the system, and we were able to remotely access the system and be able to show them, hey, we can see exactly what's on your desktop here. All right, so I'm gonna exit out of that. All right. So the next thing I want to do is there's a way that actually I could attempt to elevate my privileges, and it's a command called getsystem. All right, so let's see if that works out for me. All right, looks like it did. All right, so I'm gonna say get UID. So remember the last time I ran get UID, I was administrator. Let's see if I can scroll up past all of this help menu. All right, see right here where I ran get UID before, I'm an administrator account. So I'm gonna, after running that get system command, let's see what my privileges are now. All right, see now you see I have full system authority. So that's another way that if we already have enough privileges, we can run the get system command to then further elevate our privileges. But you need a certain amount of privilege to be able to do that. So fortunately, since I was an administrator account, I was able to easily do a get system and upgrade my privileges to system authority. Okay, so the next thing is we can do something called show underscore mount, and this is going to show me all the disk drives that are connected to the target host, whether they're fixed or removable. When I say removable, think in terms of like a USB drive or a portable a hard drive. All right. All right, so we can see that it just has one disk drive associated with it, a C drive, and it's fixed. So meaning that is built into or built directly into the machine itself. All right, or at least mounted directly into the machine. And I've shown this in a previous video. If we want to see the current processes running, I could type PS, and it'll show us a process tree of all the processes running, and um, show us how many bits it's running in, whether it's 32, 64, and then the level of privileges that it has. All right. So if I'm looking to elevate my privileges, I could look at this I could look at this, excuse me, this process tree and show if, okay, if I wanted to migrate to something that had system authority, then I would choose something like this WMI PRVSE.exe file or process. All right. So um, also let's see, and I'm gonna show. Let me see if I can find. I may choose that one. See what PowerShell just had. Let's use that one. So I'm gonna say, and I've shown this before. I'm gonna just say migrate. Let's see, the process ID is 552, migrate 552. All right, so then let's look at, I'm gonna do a sysinfo again. All right, now we can see that I've gone from having a 32-bit session of Meterpreter, now I have a 64-bit version of Meterpreter because I entered in, I did migrate and entered in the process ID of of that 64-bit process. All right, that had full system authority, and I was able to elevate my Meterpreter session, which allows me to run some different commands and more commands than if I was in a 32-bit um, um, interpreter session in a 64-bit operating system. All right. So the next thing I could do here, if let's say, and I've shown this before too, but want to review it again. So if I wanted to change directories from interpreter, I would just say, let's say, if I want to change directory to the root of the C drive, I would just say C colon and then backspace not back excuse backslash backslash and that should be in the C. All right. So remember, we're doing a capture the flag. All right. So I'm going to say dir. All right. And so we can see that there's a flag in the root of the C directory. So in here, I'm gonna just say cat flag.txt, and it should show me out. It should output the contents of that flag, and it does. All right, so we capture the flag there, and let's say if I wanted to see what my current directory is, again, I'll do a pwd. All right, and a lot of these are, even though we're targeting a Windows system, a lot of these commands in Meterpreter are still Linux based. So a lot of them, like instead of just typing type flag.txt, I would type cat flag at .txt as if I was using a Linux based system. All right, and let's say I wanted to, and I think I saw this in a previous video too. But if I wanted to just download this into straight into my specific local directory, I would just say download flag.txt. All right, and now that should be in my local directory, and it's telling me it's in my root directory. All right, so I am going to do Control Z in background this session, and I'm going to jump straight into some Windows-based post exploitation modules. All right, just wanted to show a little bit more um, um, Meterpreter tools that we could use, or excuse me, Meterpreter actions that we could take, especially that screenshot um, um, feature. 'Cause I thought it was really cool and just wanted to show it. All right, so um, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually open a new terminal here. All right, and then I'm gonna open up another instance of Metasploit, and I'm gonna actually run a Rigetto exploitation again. It should only take me like a few minutes to do. All right, so since I'm in a different session of Metasploit, I'm gonna have to set up another workspace. And let's say I'm gonna call this workspace, since the first one that I made prior to filming was called Windows Post. I'm gonna just call this Windows Post 2. All right, and then all right, then then I had, since I'm in a new session, I also have to set the target host as a global parameter again. So as I switch modules, I don't have to keep doing that. All right. All right, and then I'm just gonna just type in the exploit here. This is the Rigetto HTTP file service HFS execution. All right, and then I'm just going to exploit this because everything should already be set. All right, and let's background that. All right, I did Control Z to do that, by the way. All right. Okay, so all right, so now that we're in here, all right, so um I'm gonna search for a migration tool. So I want to show how we can remember where I just showed how I had to go through the process tree to migrate to a 64-bit process that has system level authority in order to upgrade my session from a 32 interpret the session from a 32-bit session to a 64-bit session. Well, I want to show how we can automate that. So we can automate that. I'm gonna say search migrate, and there's actually a module that that automates that whole process. All right, so there's two that there's two that I can use here. There's this one right here, all right, that Windows managed process migration, or the one that I'm going to use is right here. Number one is the arc migrate, all right, and that's switching architect. That's the architecture migrate. So this is the one that I could use. Either one of those should get me the results, but I'm gonna go with the architecture migration one. All right, so well, I'll go with 18. I'll go with this post Windows manage migrate. So I'll go with 18. All right. We could use either one of those, but I'm gonna just go with that one. All right. So I'm gonna say use 18. All right. And then let's say show options. All right. So the only thing that I believe that I need to set here is the session. Let's see. Let's take a look. Our host is already set. Let's see. Did it change? Let me see. Use 18. Did it change to that? 'Cause it looks like it did. There we go. Okay. Let's say that didn't look like the right tool. Okay, so now go to show options. There we go. Okay, so really the only thing I could specify and give it the process name, or to kill the original process, but I'm not going to do all that. I'm just going to show how it automates the migration from the version that I'm using now to the 64-bit version. So remember, I'm in a new when I entered in the first time, I started a Meterpreter session in this terminal, so I should be running a 32-bit process. All right, so it's going to migrate that to a 64-bit process. That's why I opened up this new terminal. All right, so I'm going to say set session. We only have one session running, so that session ID is going to be 1. All right, and I am going to run this. So I'm going to say just simply run. Let's see what it does. All right, looks like that ran successfully. All right, so looks like I migrated to a 64-bit a session. All right, and so I'm going to check on that later. But I also want to run a tool that's going to enumerate privileges for the target host right here from the Metasploit console. All right, so the MSF console. All right, so I'm gonna say search when, because remember we're targeting specifically Windows hosts, when privs. All right, so we have just one tool here, and it's Windows gather privilege enumeration. So that that ID that module ID is 0, so I'm saying use 0. All right, so let's go to show options to see what I have to configure here. All right, so it looks like just a session, so I'm gonna say set session to 1. All right, and let's run that. And you'll notice that all of these starts with post, because again, these are modules designed specifically for um, post exploitation. All right, so these are my level of privileges. It's telling me here, and if I go up a little bit, all right, is admin true? I'm an admin. Is a system false? So I don't have full system authority. I did in the previous session, but I don't in this one. All right, and it says it is in local admin group. Yes, this account is a local admin group. Is user account control enabled? Yes, it's enabled. All right, foreground ID is 1, and then here's my UID. All right, and it's that same administrator account. Okay, So the next thing I could do if I wanted to do enumeration of logged in users, all right, I could say I could search for a tool called enum underscore logged on underscore logged on, and let's see what I find. All right, there's one tool for that, and it says Windows gathered log a logged on user enumeration, and it looks within a registry. All right, so I'm gonna say use 0 since that's the only module ID available. All right, so say show options to see if anything needs to be configured. More likely it does because I have to give it the session. And the session looks like it's the only thing that needs to be configured. But if you see here, it's giving me the option as far as current users, logged in users, and recent logged in users is all set to true. So it gives me options of what type of users that I want to be able to look for here, and I'm going to keep those to true. So I'm going to set the session here to 1. All right, and let's enumerate that and tell it to run. All right, so we can see that myself and we have a network service account, a local service account, a system profile account. We can see that those have been logged in. And one thing, if we're doing any sort of ethical hacking, this is a good thing to do just to make sure that certain types of accounts are logged in. So if they are, we may be more easily found, and we don't want to be found in the system. So it's good to run this enumeration just to make sure that we're not being watched by certain accounts that may be logged in. Okay. All right. So the next thing I want to show that we want to be able to detect if a virtual machine is being ran. So if this is a physical machine or a virtual machine. So we can search for a tool called check VM. All right, so we had 3 variations of that. So since we have a Linux version, Solaris version, and a Windows version. So since we're focusing on Windows post exploitation, I'm going to choose tool number 2, which is third on the list. So I'm going to say use 2. Uh-oh. Okay, that didn't turn out right. There we go. All right, and then let's look at the options to see what needs to be configured. All right, so in this one, all I need to do is set this session as well. So I'm gonna say set sessions with session to 1. All right, let's run that. All right, so it's telling me that it's running a Zen virtual machine. All right, so this information is important because if the target uses a virtual machine, then I can use a VM breakout exploitation, a module or attack, to attack the underlying machine. But that's beyond the scope um, of this video. But it's a good reason for why it's good to enumerate this because again, if I know I'm in a virtual machine, then I can look for some breakout, some VM breakout. Modules. All right, so let's say I want to know what software applications they're running on their system. So I'm gonna say search enum. Then we're gonna say applications. I should be able to find it. All right, it did. All right, so the explanation says Windows gather installed application enumeration. All right, so I'm gonna say use 0. All right, show options. All right, all I have to do is set the session here. So we're going to set that to 1 since we only have 1 going. Let's run that. All right, so we can see they're using actually quite a few AWS related tools here, which makes sense since we now know that we're in a VM. So it looks like this VM is cloud based so it's AWS based, and that they have some EC2 configuration files here or software here. They have some Amazon agents or AWS tools, and they have Firefox browser, which we saw actually in that screenshot. So it's matching with the screenshot that we actually took earlier. All right, so everything is indeed adding up. So let's say we wanted to find a any sort of antivirus exclusion information. So we want to find out which directories may be excluded from an antivirus scan. So that would help us as far as if we want to plan a payload in certain directories, we would have an idea of where some good places to target. So in order to do that, I could say search type, and then let's say post. Then I'm gonna say platform, Windows, and then enum, and then AV for antivirus. All right, we have quite a few here. All right, so I want to look for the enum AV excluded. So let's see, excluded. Here we go. So tool number ID number 8. All right. So I'm gonna say use 8. All right. Show options to see what needs to be configured. All right. So as usual, so it tells us the different tools that we can look for as far as in exclusions. We have Microsoft Defenders, Security Essentials, and even semantic endpoint protection. All right. So I'm gonna keep all of those set to true, and I'm gonna set the session to 1, and let's run that, and let's see if there's any folders that are excluded. So it looks like actually none of these supported antiviruses are identified, which, ooh, I mean, yeah, I'm gonna give the target a benefit of doubt, and maybe they don't have any of these built-in ones on, and they're using their own solution. Yeah, I'm gonna give them that benefit of doubt, and they're just not sitting here wide open. But I was able to easily exploit that Rigetto web server, so I don't know. But anyway, let's say I want to do some domain enumeration. I want to see what other computers live on the same domain as our target. All right, so I could say search enum underscore computer. All right, and I want to look for the enum computer. So it looks like it's actually the last one here. All right, so I'm gonna say um, use 33. All right, say show options. All right, so all right, all I need to do is set the session here. So session 1, and let's run that. All right, so it looks like it is a lone wolf. All right, so it's not on any particular domain, so I wasn't able to enumerate any further machines that's sitting on the same domain as it. But if it did, it would have definitely enumerated here. So that's a tool that we could use to do that. Now let's see if I want to see what if there's any installed patches on this machine, so I know. So if I want to run a particular exploit, I know whether or not it's patched or not. I know whether or not it's patched or not, or I know, or I would know what patches it has on it, so I could better be able to choose an exploit to target the system. All right, so I could say search enum underscore patches. Okay, didn't like that. Oh, I have to add a C in the patches, don't I? All right. Here we go. So there's one. So gather Windows gather applied patches. So I'm gonna say use 0. All right, show options. All right, so it looks like once again, all we need to do is set the session, set that to 1. All right, let's run that. Actually, looks like it has a pretty full list of patches here. All right, so I would just, I would just have to go through these and see what these patches are related to, and choose or don't choose a exploit accordingly. All right, so let's say I want to do an SMB share enumeration. I want to see what SMB shares that our target is running. So I would say enum, search enum shares. All right, we have one in particular for that, and this is Windows Gathers SMB share enumeration. Again, looking at the registry for that information. So I'm say use 0. All right, let's show the options. All right, so it's looking at all current, entered, and recent SMB shares that that the system is using. So we say set session to 1. All right, let's run that. All right, and it looks like it's running a printer share, which is pretty common. So so that tells me nothing real interesting there, but it lets me know that it does have a printer share associated, or that is that the system is using. All right, so I'm going to run one last one here, and this is to see if RDP, remote desktop protocol, is enabled. All right, and this really helps me a lot because if I wanted to exploit the RDP being enabled, this lets me know that it's a potential attack vector. All right. And then, so I'm gonna say search RDP. The platform is Windows, Windows based. So let's see. All right, so we have quite a few here, and I want to look for the enable RDP, and that looks like it's right here, number 62. So let's say use 62. All right, and then let's say show options. Ah, yeah, I don't know why it does that, my keyboard. All right, let's use 62 again. Show options. All right, so the only thing I really need to set here is sessions, because I'm not necessarily trying to log in. I'm just trying to basically see if it's enabled. So I'm gonna just say set. But if I did have, let's say I did run a brute force and I was able to find a username and password, I certainly could use this to be able to test the login. All right, so set sessions to 1. All right, and let's run that. All right, it says RDP is already enabled. All right, and so I'm gonna just, let me see, go to sessions and just show that we do have that 64-bit session, that first command that first command that I ran did run as far as that migration. Sessions 1. All right, and then I'm going to say sysinfo. Oh no, okay, so maybe let's see, let's try. Let me see, go back. Let's go back and try to run that first command again, cause that should have worked. All right, let's see, search, migrate. So I'm going to actually run that first one. Something told me to run that first one, number 1. All right, so let's run number 1 again. Let's see, use. All right, and then set session to 1. Oh, did I kill my session? I just thought about that. Yeah, I did kill my session. I don't know if the juice may not be worth the squeeze on this one. Let me see. Let me see. I have to find. Let me use that Rigetto. Let me see. That's why in one of my future videos coming up really soon, I'm gonna show how we can maintain persistence. So if I had a persistent session here, I wouldn't have to go back and do this. But I digress. Okay, so there we go. All right. All right. Now we're going to background this instead of killing it. I shouldn't have done that. All right. Now let's go back. All right. And then we said we're going to use one set session to one. Oh, well, no, we actually want to set session to two because, yeah, no set session to two. All right, let's run that. All right, now let's take a look at that session. All right, and then say sysinfo. Bam, there it goes. Okay, so it's number. So you want to use the arc migrate instead of that other migration one, and that'll automate the migration from a 32-bit to a 64-bit Meterpreter session. So I'm not going to run the gambit and just try to cover everything I showed you here, but just know that in this video, we did a little brief capture the flag here, but the main focus was being able to show different sort of Windows-based post-exploitation modules that we could run within the Metasploit framework to either to further enumerate our target, to upgrade our session, to do some privilege escalation. So just different varieties of tasks that we can do once we have access to that system, a Windows specific system, and using different parts of the Metasploit framework to do that, different modules, whether it's in the MSF console or Meterpreter. We have a wide array of tools that are on our hand. So please like, share, and subscribe. Most importantly, show your work. Until next time, take care of yourself and God bless.